My name is Camille Taylor, and today I want to share with you a story that completely changed my life. A story about how my own family called me a failure, a useless person, a disappointment, until the day my startup made $12 million in its first year. Do you know that moment when you're at your lowest, thinking you're worthless, and the people who should support you the most are the ones who destroy you the most? Well, I've experienced it firsthand. And if you've ever been through something similar, or if you feel like your family doesn't believe in you, stay with me until the end of this story, because what happened next will shock you. Before you start, subscribe to the channel and like it, because this story needs to reach more people who are going through what I went through. And believe me, the ending will surprise even you. So, let's go. It all started when I was 22 years old and in my last year of computer engineering at the University of Michigan. Guys, you need to understand the context of my family first. My father, Robert Taylor, has always been obsessed with status. He has worked as a manager for an insurance company for over 20 years, and my mother, Patricia, is an accountant. They always bragged about having academically successful children. I have two siblings, Marcus, who is 3 years older than me, graduated in law from Northwestern, and Sarah, 2 years younger, who was studying medicine at the time. I was the middle child, the one who was always good with computers, the nerd of the family. Throughout my childhood, I heard my parents telling the neighbors, "Our Camille is going to be a great software engineer. She has been programming since she was 12. Do you know that pressure? I carried the weight of being the technology prodigy. But then came 2019, my last semester. I was working on my final project, working part-time at a local startup to gain experience, and still had to deal with 5 heavy classes. The stress was literally killing me. I remember exactly May 15, 2019. I was in the university library. It was 3 a.m., I had a cup of cold coffee in my hand and had been debugging code for 6 hours straight. My eyes were burning, my head was throbbing, and I simply couldn't think straight anymore. The next day, I had a software architecture exam, one of the hardest subjects in the course. I arrived at the classroom after only having slept for an hour, and when it was time to take the test, guys, I went completely blank. All those sleepless nights, all that accumulated stress, my brain simply shut down. I got a 3 on a test that was worth 40% of my final grade. And that wasn't the only one. In 3 weeks, I failed 2 fundamental subjects to graduate. Out of nowhere, after 4 years of undergraduate studies, I wasn't going to be able to graduate with my class. When I told my parents on the phone, the silence on the other end of the line lasted about 10 seconds, which seemed like an eternity. Then my dad said, "Camille, are you kidding me? What do you mean you're not going to graduate?" I tried to explain about the stress, about how I was working and studying too much, but he interrupted me. "Stop making excuses. You just didn't try hard enough. Your brother graduated with honors, your sister is doing great in medical school, and you come and tell me you couldn't even finish your degree." My mom picked up the phone and said, "Camille, we spent a fortune on your education. How are we going to explain this to your family, to your friends? You've embarrassed us." Guys, imagine how I felt hearing that. I was emotionally destroyed, I needed support, and I was judged. When I got home that weekend, the atmosphere was heavy. My brother Marcus was there with his wife, and my sister Sarah had come too. It was like they had staged an intervention. Marcus said, "Camille, you've always been the smartest of the 3 of us with technology. How did you manage to screw everything up like that? And look, there's no point in crying now. You have to get your life together." Sarah, who has always had this rivalry with me, didn't miss the opportunity. "I warned you that you were doing too many things at the same time. Now you'll have to face the consequences." But the worst moment was during dinner. My father stood up and said, "Guys, unfortunately our Camille won't be graduating this year. She failed." And looking directly at me, he continued, "Honestly, Camille, I don't know what to think of you anymore. Maybe you're just not capable of finishing the things you start. My mother added, it's one disappointment after another. First you give up on the piano, then on dancing, now this. You seem to have no determination for anything. Guys, I started crying right there at the table. And do you know what my dad said? Stop being so dramatic, Camille. You're 22 years old, you're not a kid anymore to cry when things don't go your way. That night, I was in my childhood bedroom, looking at my math and programming Olympiad trophies, all the achievements I had had up until then. And I made a decision that would change my life forever. I went downstairs and found my parents watching TV. I said, Dad, Mom, I need to talk to you about something. My father didn't even look up from the TV. If you're going to ask for money to repeat the subjects, I'm telling you right now that we don't have it. I took a deep breath and said, it's not that. I'm going to prove to you that you're wrong about me. I'm going to show you that I'm not a failure, that I'm not useless, that I do have determination. And when I succeed, you'll regret everything you said today. My mother gave a sarcastic laugh. Oh really, Camille? And how do you intend to do that? I said, you'll see. And you can write it down, one day you'll be proud of me, even if it's too late. My father finally looked at me and said, Camille, stop being dramatic. You've always been like this, making a mountain out of a molehill. Now go back to your room and think about what you're going to do with your life, because studying is clearly not your strong point. Guys, those words cut me like a knife, but they also lit a fire inside me that I had never felt before. The next day, I returned to Ann Arbor with a determination I didn't even know existed within me. The first thing I did was go talk to the course coordinator, Professor Williams. Professor Williams welcomed me into his office and said, Camille, you were one of our best students for 4 years. What happened? I explained the whole situation to him, the stress, the burnout, everything. He listened to me carefully and said, look, Camille, you can repeat these 2 classes next semester. But I have to be honest with you, you're going to have to pay for it out of your own pocket, because you've already used up all your scholarship credits. It was $3,500 per class. $7,000 that I didn't have. My part-time job at the startup paid only $12 an hour, and I could work a maximum of 20 hours a week because of the classes. When I called home to explain the situation, my father was blunt. Camille, we're not going to finance your mistakes. You're going to have to figure out how to come up with that money. Guys, that's when I realized I was completely alone. At 22 years old, without a college degree, without family support, with $7,000 to earn from somewhere. But do you know what I did? I looked for 3 jobs. In the morning, I worked as a programming tutor for college freshmen, earning $15 an hour. In the afternoon, I did freelance web development, and at night, I worked as a waitress at a restaurant in downtown Ann Arbor. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, studied until 7 o'clock, worked from 8 to 12 o'clock, had a quick lunch, worked freelance from 1 to 5 o'clock, had an hour for dinner, and worked at the restaurant from 6 to 11 o'clock. I got home at midnight, studied for another hour, and went to sleep. Weekends. They didn't exist. On Saturdays and Sundays, I did more freelance work and studied. 3 months into this insane routine, I was exhausted, but I had managed to save $4,000. I still had $3,000 left. That's when something happened that changed everything. I was working freelance for an accounting firm, creating a simple system for them to organize their client data. It was a $500 job, nothing special. But when I delivered the system, the owner of the company, Mr. Martinez, called me in to talk. He said, Camille, this system you created has saved my employees 15 hours of work per week. That means I can process 40% more clients without hiring anyone new. Do you have any idea how much value that represents? I hadn't thought about that. To me, it was just a simple data organization system. Mr. Martinez continued, I have two friends who have companies similar to mine. They are facing the same organizational problems. Would you be willing to create similar systems for them? That conversation made me realize something fundamental. I wasn't just selling programming, I was selling solutions to real business problems. And small companies pay handsomely for solutions that save time and money. Within 2 weeks, I had built systems for Mr. Martinez's other two companies. I earned an additional $2,000. Suddenly, I had the $7,000 I needed, plus an extra $500. In January 2020, I re-enrolled in the 2 classes I had failed. But this time it was different. I had a confidence I had never had before, because I knew I could solve real problems in the business world. In both classes, I got A+S. My professors were impressed with my dedication and the practical examples I brought from the companies I had helped. Professor Williams called me into his office in March and said, Camille, I have never seen a transformation like yours. Not only have you recovered academically, you seem like a completely different person. What happened? I explained to him about the assignments, about discovering that I could solve real business problems with programming. He listened to me and said something I will never forget, Camille, you haven't realized it yet, but you didn't just learn how to program better. You learned how to be an entrepreneur. In May 2020, I finally graduated. But unlike my colleagues who were looking for jobs, I already had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. While working with small businesses, I noticed a pattern. They all had similar problems with data organization, customer management, and automation of repetitive tasks. But the solutions available on the market were either too expensive or too complicated for small businesses. I thought, what if I created a platform that solved these problems in a simple and accessible way? I spent 3 months developing what I called SimpleBiz, a web platform that integrated customer management, automation of administrative tasks, and basic financial reporting, all for $49 per company per month. Mr. Martinez was my first beta client. After using it for a month, he said, Camille, this is worth gold. You should charge at least $200 per month for this. But I kept the price low on purpose. I wanted small businesses to be able to afford it. I officially launched in September 2020. In the first 2 months, I acquired 5 clients through referrals from Mr. Martinez and the other companies I had helped. In November, I created a marketing website and started selling online. Growth was slow but steady. December, 12 clients, January, 28 clients, February, 45 clients. In March 2021, something I never expected happened. A mid-sized company, Davidson Manufacturing, contacted me saying they had heard about SimpleBiz and wanted to implement it for their 15 branches. The CEO, Michael Davidson, called me personally, Camille, we tested your platform in one branch and our manager said it saved 25 hours of administrative work per week. We want to implement it in all branches, but we need some customizations. We negotiated a contract for $15,000 per month for a year, with customizations included. Overnight, my monthly revenue jumped from $2,200 to $17,200. Michael Davidson gave me something even more valuable than money, credibility. He connected me with other CEOs in the region, and larger corporate contracts started coming my way. By June 2021, I had 23 corporate contracts and 180 small businesses using the platform. Monthly revenue, $85,000. That's when I realized I needed help. I hired my first employee, Jake Morrison, a recent graduate developer who helped me expand the platform's capabilities. By the end of 2021, SimpleBiz was processing data from over 500 companies. But the real game changer was when we decided to implement artificial intelligence for predictive analysis of business data. Jake had the idea, Camille, what if our platform not only organized data, but could also predict sales trends and identify growth opportunities? We spent 4 months developing this functionality. In March 2022, we launched SimpleBiz AI. The results were explosive. Companies using the new functionality reported 15 to 30% increases in revenue through the insights the platform provided. In 6 months, our customer base grew from 500 to 2,800 companies. I hired 8 more employees, 4 developers, 2 data analysts, a sales manager, and an administrative assistant. Monthly revenue in September 2022, $340,000. But the biggest moment came in October, when TechCorp, a tech giant, approached us for a strategic partnership. They wanted to integrate our predictive analytics AI into their platform, and offered $2 million for a 3-year license. Guys, just imagine, in 2 years, I went from being a broke student who my family called useless to CEO of a startup making over $1 million a month. In December 2022, something incredible happened. Forbes published an article about emerging startups in Michigan, and SimpleBiz was featured on the cover. The headline was, "How a 27-year-old is revolutionizing business management for small businesses." The article told my entire story, from failing college to building a multi-million-dollar company. The journalist, David Chin, had done extensive research and interviewed several of my clients. Mr. Martinez was quoted in the article. "Camille Taylor not only saved my company from going bankrupt due to disorganization, but she helped me triple my revenue in 2 years. She's a business genius disguised as a programmer." Michael Davidson also gave a testimonial. "SimpleBiz has completely transformed how we operate our branches. Camille has created something the tech giants couldn't, a solution that's actually useful and affordable for real businesses." When the article was published, I was at the SimpleBiz office. Yes, we already had our own office with 15 employees, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Calls from investors, from other companies wanting partnerships, from journalists wanting interviews. But the call that had the biggest impact on me was from my grandmother, Dorothy. She cried, "Camille, my daughter, I always knew you were special. I just read the article about you in Forbes. I'm so proud I don't even know what to say." 3 days after the Forbes article, my phone rang. It was my mother. Patricia spoke in a strange, nervous voice. "Hi Camille, how are you?" I answered normally. "Hi Mom, I'm fine, very busy with work." She continued, "So, we saw the article about you in Forbes. Your father bought 5 copies of the magazine." I remained silent, waiting for her to continue. My mother said, "Camille, we didn't know you had built all this. Why didn't you ever tell us?" I took a deep breath and replied, "Mom, you called me a failure, useless, you said I didn't have the determination to finish things. You refused to help me when I needed it most. Why would I tell you?" She was silent for a few seconds and then she said, "Camille, we made mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes. Your father wants to talk to you." My father picked up the phone. "Camille, I read the article 3 times. I can't believe what you've built. Did you make $12 million last year?" I confirmed, "Yes, Dad. And we're projecting $18 million by 2023. He said something I never thought I would hear. "Camille, I apologize. I apologize for everything I said, for not supporting you, for doubting you. You proved me completely wrong." Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. For a moment, a part of me wanted to pour out all the hurt I had been holding onto over the last few years. I wanted to tell them all the times I cried because of their words, all the nights I worked late remembering what they had said. But you know what I said. "Dad, I accept your apology. But I needed to prove it to myself, not to you. And now I know what I'm capable of." 2 weeks later, my parents came to visit the SimpleBiz office. When they walked in and saw the 15 employees working, the screens with growth charts, the wall of awards and articles about the company, my mother started to cry. My father looked at all of this and said, Camille, I have no words. You have built an empire. I introduced them to Jake, my CTO, to Sandra, my sales manager, to the entire team. Everyone knew my story because I have always been transparent about where I came from. Jake told my parents, "You have no idea how lucky you are to have Camille as a daughter. She is the most visionary CEO I have ever met, and I have worked at 3 startups." Sandra added, "Camille has not only built a successful company, but she has created an incredible work culture here. We have all grown professionally working with her." I saw my parents get teary-eyed listening to that. At the end of the visit, my father hugged me, something he hadn't done in years, and said, "Camille, I know I can't take back what I said when you needed support the most. But I want you to know that now I understand who you really are, and I'm more proud of you than I can express." My mother held my hands and said, "You taught us a lesson about never giving up on the people we love, even when they're going through the worst time. You're an inspiration, daughter." Guys, today SimpleBiz has 42 employees, serves more than 8,000 companies in 15 states, and we closed 2023 with a revenue of $22 million. We're negotiating a Series A investment round that could take us to a valuation of $80 million. But do you know what I'm most proud of? It's not the numbers, it's not the money, it's not even the media recognition. What makes me most proud is knowing that when my niece, Marcus' daughter, has difficulties at school or in life, she will be able to look to her Aunt Camille and know that it is possible to get back up after any fall. What makes me most proud is receiving messages from young people who have watched my interviews saying that they found the courage to follow their dreams even when their family doesn't believe in them. What makes me most proud is having transformed the pain of family rejection into fuel to build something that positively impacts the lives of thousands of people. My relationship with my family today is good. It's not perfect, some wounds take time to heal completely, but there is respect, there is mutual admiration, and there is love. Marcus now asks me for advice on investments. Sarah wants me to help her launch a digital platform for doctors. My parents tell all their friends about their daughter's company. But the most important lesson I've learned on this journey is this: never let the opinions of others, even if they are your family, define what you are capable of doing. Sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who can least see our potential, especially in difficult times. If you are going through something similar, if someone has called you a failure, incapable, or too much of a dreamer, I want you to remember this: these people are wrong. You have potential within you that perhaps even you don't know about yet. Use pain as fuel. Use rejection as motivation. Use harsh words as reminders of what you want to prove wrong. And most importantly, never stop trying. My failure at university did not define who I am. Your failures will not define who you are either. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in situations where your family or people close to you didn't believe in your potential? How did you deal with it? Tell us your story in the comments. If this story touched you in any way, like it, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Remember, you are capable of much more than you imagine. Sometimes you just need a second chance, and you can give that second chance to yourself. Thanks for watching this far, and we'll see you in the next video.